How mindfulness creates freedom through insight into impermanence.
With the plants that are out there, it never stops, and I find that intriguing.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, I would encourage you to notice that about yourself.
That I'll never stop.
We're never static. Even this chair is not static. It appears very solid and unchanging, right? If you were to look at this if you had the ability to see individual atoms, this thing is in crazy motion right now. Yeah, in fact, the chair is almost transparent. An atom, if you were to dissect an atom, the nucleus, the proton and the neutron, would be in the middle of this room, would be about the size of grains of sand. And the electrons floating around the perimeter of this room would be about the size of specks of dust. That's an atom. So this room is 99.9999, almost to infinity, empty space. And so are we. Yeah, there's magnetic forces and the forces that hold atoms together. I mean, if it weren't for the way our world works, you would just be able to walk right through that wall without any piece of matter touching any other piece of matter. Because we're almost completely transparent. Now, we can't see that, right? But what we can see in terms of change is if you're conscious, you're breathing. And you can just notice that this body never stops breathing. In fact, if you were to hold your breath until you passed out, you know the first thing your body would do as soon as you went unconscious? It would start breathing again, all on its own. And this never stops. This never-ending rhythm of breathing, air going in, air going out, belly rising, belly falling. And if your awareness is very subtle, you'll notice just this subtle contraction and expansion of the entire body with each breath. It's very, very subtle, but it's happening. In fact, if you take a deep breath, it's obvious, right? If I breathe in very deeply, I mean, everything moves, my whole body, right? Now, why is this helpful, do you suppose, to notice that there's this constant change? This is actually one of the fundamental insights of the practice. That's great. So we become more flexible, right? What the brain likes to do is create an image of this is this person, and this is exactly what she's like. And that is really hard for us to change that image. I'm sure we can all relate to that, right? You have somebody that you've known them for 10 years, but you still see them as the person that you knew 10 years ago, even if they've changed quite a bit, if you're just interacting with them every day. Now, it's different if you haven't seen them for 10 years, then it just hits you, right? Wow, you're so different. But people that you see every day, our brain is very good at creating, I think they're called schemas, or, it's this image that just makes it very easy to immediately put that thing or person into a category. The brain's very, very good at that. And it helps us. It helps us to organize information, it helps us to interact every day. Where it's not so helpful is helping us to be free from suffering. It's not very helpful in terms of helping us to be happy. Because reality is not like that. Reality is not static. Reality is constantly changing. You are literally a new person with every in-breath. It's just the level of molecules. There's a whole new array of oxygen, molecules floating through your body, nitrogen. You're at the cellular level, your cells have changed with every in-breath, with every out-breath. If we go down to the atomic level, and most particle physicists, the common view is that an electron's not actually spinning around a room, it's actually spinning into and out of existence like 1,000,000 times as it appears to revolve around the nucleus of an atom. So there's just, everything is new with every breath. That is actually reality. And in order to break our brain's habit And again, we're not going to stop the brain from doing this. The brain is going to do it. It's going to create fixed images of things, these schemas of things, because it's useful. It helps us to navigate our daily lives. However, if we believe that, if that drives all of our behaviors, if we're not able to see that as something useful in some contexts, but then not be constrained by it in other contexts, then we suffer a lot. Right? There's a funny story that comes from a teacher from Thailand named Ajahn Chah. He said that, it's kind of like we humans are like, we create these expectations for things. Like, I'd like to get a suntan, so I'm gonna lay in a nice lounge chair, but I'm gonna put that lounge chair in the middle of a busy freeway, and then I get really mad at the cars for ruining my experience of having a peaceful afternoon sunbathing, right? We kind of do these things to ourselves. I mean, that's a really obviously silly example, but we do these types of things to ourselves quite a bit, where we create an expectation out of these schemas, out of these fixed images that we've created in our minds. And because we don't see this as an object and allow it to arise and pass away, and it actually affects how we interact with somebody or interact with our environment, then we suffer. Right? If we expect something to be a certain way and we are attached to it happening in that way, and it doesn't, we're going to suffer. Now, if we have an expectation of something being in some way, but because we've been practicing mindfulness and we can actually see this as just, oh, here's an expectation, and then that expectation is gone. It still arises, which is normal. That's just what the brain's going to do. But now it's not constraining behavior. It's not forcing us into, well, if it doesn't happen that way, I'm going to get upset. So this is the value of, this is a beautiful insight that you just had, just noticing that this grass is always moving. It's very helpful to notice that we are always moving. We're always changing. And everything is always changing. Now again, you aren't going to notice unless you have I don't think even an electron microscope would notice this, but whatever particle physicists use to measure the motion at the atomic level, unless you had something like that, you can't see the motion of this chair. But we're very lucky because we have these bodies that breathe all the time. And we can see that, and it never stops. So this is one of the values of taking time to sit still and practice mindfulness while sitting still, is that without even trying, if you're just noticing that the body's breathing in and breathing out, you're getting this wisdom is developing. The wisdom of this body of mine is always changing. It's never the same one moment to the next. And as awareness becomes more stable, we start to see the same with thinking. We start to see a thought arises, and then it passes away. There's never a thought that arises and just stays there. Have you ever experienced that? A thought that arises in conscious awareness and stays there and stays there and stays there and stays there and never goes away? It's never happened. Now, there may have been a thought that came up, stayed for 30 seconds, and went away for 10 seconds, came back for another 30. But you've never experienced a thought that has been there that's never goes away, right? So the value of sitting still is we're noticing the change of this body. We're noticing the changing nature of thoughts as they pass through the mind. And that kind of frees up our tendency of believing these schemas, these fixed images that the brain creates, and having them constrain how we respond to the world around us. Hello, my friend, and thank you for taking a minute to check out this video here at the Mindfulness Edge. I hope that you enjoyed it and found it helpful. Please feel free to leave any questions that you have about the practice down in the comment section below if you think I could be of help. I do my best to answer as many of those questions as I can, and I enjoy helping wherever I can. If you found the video helpful, please feel free to subscribe to this channel to make sure that you never miss any of the videos that we post. And you could also feel free to go ahead and hit that little like button. That will help other people to see this video, and hopefully it will be of help to them as well. And if you like, I have a little gift for you. If you head on over to themindfulnessedge.com, I'd be happy to give you free sample chapters of my book called The Mindfulness Edge. So until next time, I hope you are well.